This outfit they have brought back this style of natural dyes. And I very much hope next time I enter a Chinese airport, I don't see brands like Givenchy, but I see one that sells this beautiful jacket from Rongjiang. The fourth plenum comes around the time when the Chinese government hosted a range of leaders of countries in Beijing to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the defeat of fascism. China came out there and said we can defend ourselves, showed, almost the most advanced military fighting technology. And right after that, there's the plenum where there's a serious discussion about planning for the next stage of development. The next 5-year plan has to be put together. What's extraordinary is most of the world has actually stopped doing proper economic planning. Not just 5-year plans, which is a kind of tactical plan, but long-range 20, 30-year planning. The Chinese government and the Chinese people plan for much longer than 5 years. But this plenum was around the question of what is the next phase of Chinese modernization. One of the most interesting features of new quality productive forces and advancing them is what do you do with people who are no longer going to have to get employed in certain jobs. As you develop the use of artificial intelligence, to do all kinds of things, making emergency videos to tell children in rural areas don't go swimming in the river in the springtime because there can be a spring surge in the mountain villages in Rongjiang. That kind of stuff means you don't need to hire young people to go make the video. What happens to employment? What happens to people's sense that they want to have a certain kind of career? And I think in the plenum, there was a lot of discussion, not just about technology, but about the social dreams and imagination of people. And I think that's very exciting. And I hope the people in China are excited to contribute to public discussion about the social implications of the new quality productive forces. Because I think that's what's going to be at the center of a lot of the next 5-year plan. In the Africa-China Forum, there's been an increasing discussion about industrialization of Africa. Increased discussion about transferring industry to Africa, to Indonesia. So that's why I was interested in the idea of new quality productive forces, Belt and Road. That means that it suggests that when the plan comes out, it's not going to be about, let's send Africa yesterday's technology, yesterday's factories. But listen, let's be quite clear that on the continent of Africa, most countries don't have electrification. Burkina Faso, about 9% rural electrification. You're going to have to still stay with the issue of infrastructure. Sometimes I go to remote villages. I was in one in Honduras, up in the mountains. And when I see the grid, I like to hear the sound of the electricity. Why? Because the sound of electricity, like the sound of water, means that a young person in this village can read at night. They can put the tap on and they can wash their hands or they can drink a glass of water. You can't romanticize rural areas. You got to think about what this does for a young child. You got to have the internet in these houses. It's an enormous force of democratization. You got to have sufficient internet speed so you can use, platforms like DeepSeek or Cloud or whatever you use. This is important. So we got to think of the combination of basic infrastructure with new quality productive forces. I think the most productive thing that happened was the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Tianjin for the Shanghai Cooperation Agreement, where China and India have, I think, broken the ice and started to talk again. Look, frankly, I'm just going to say it. China and India need to settle whatever problems exist at the border. These are not immense problems. These are all solvable problems. China and India are the future of the planet. We need to settle whatever disputes exist between China and India. We need to build an Asia that is compassionate, an Asia where the people live in dignity. Not an Asia of war, not an Asia of borders, but an Asia of genuine fellowship between people.